is this the most transparent election that we've seen? My own answer would be apparently. And I'm actually one of those believers who I mean, one of those people, who actually, the way I'm trained first and foremost as a philosopher and a thinker. And as a thinker, I question things. In fact, let me fundamentally explain that. It says that we develop knowledge by casting doubt, by questioning things, not just things that are doubtable, but things that appear, believable, but in essence are doubtable when you start questioning them. So questioning is what I use as my tool of trade. Coming to that now, on Form 34A specifically, and transparency, and linking this with the conversation between Chebukati and the 4 commissioners. Supposing, this is a question, supposing the 4 commissioners succeeded in persuading Chebukati, would the result of this election have been different? The answer is yes. Would the Form 34As and Bs changed? The answer is no. In other words, what you're saying here through simple logic, which is my tool of trade, is that it's possible to have a different result regardless of what has been posted as 34A and 34B. And that's what I'm saying, that even in normal English idiom, the best place to hide anything is in plain sight. So yes, you can appear to be transparent while you are as opaque, as Juliana Cherera is telling us. So Kenyans really interrogate these issues from a logical perspective. Remove your emotions from them. This conversation that happened between Chebukati and the commissioners, if it went the way of the Cherera group, we would be having a different result. But the forms on the portal, 34A and 34B, would have remained the same. So continue tallying those forms as much as you want. But these guys have told us that actually the way the commission conducts itself can produce a different result regardless of the forms that have been posted there. That's my point.
Okay. And Prof, I'll ask you to interrogate those numbers as Professor Sihanya also weighs in next.
I mean, you're looking at the issue of what Chebukati said, at the moment, what you're dealing with is he said, she said,
that's the only information we have.
That's the information that you're dealing with. Yeah. Looking at the information of the 4 commissioners,
we're not speculating.
Looking at the information that the 4 commissioners have given us in the press briefings, alluding to what Carol was saying, they say they do not agree with the last phase of this whole process. They don't agree with what Chebukati was going to announce in terms of the results. So they distanced themselves from the results. They didn't talk about process. Chebukati, on the other hand, in his statement yesterday, says that he involved all the commissioners in the verification of the election results up to the end. They were the ones, actually, who were making turns in announcing these results. So how comes the entire time until the day of announcement, nobody ever spoke anything? Professor Sihanya says there were issues with the forms 34A in the portal, but we also didn't hear any of the political camp saying that there's an issue with these forms that are actually in this portal. Until the last day, that's when we're hearing these things. And we have these numbers on screen. There's the argument of the rounded up figures, which now Chebukati put as part of his evidence in his statement yesterday, Olive.
Yes, true. But perhaps they can address the questions you've raised. Why were they now they were singing? I think Professor Sihanya said that the choir was singing, they were singing along, they were swaying along, they were dancing, and they didn't. These politicians didn't seem to have a problem either. Until they didn't appear to have a problem either.
Can I just weigh in before Ben comes in? The issue is, and we've actually been saying this, and the commissioners, I'm actually relying 100% on what these people said formally in public. They said that the earlier phases, so we don't know which phase was which, was actually transparent. In fact, they didn't condemn the entire process. Chebukati comes and says that the whole process was actually transparent and thorough and so on. So basically, nobody is saying that the entire process was actually flawed. I don't think there's any party who's actually, putting that on the table. I think what is being said here, and even what we are analyzing here, and it goes to these numbers, is that something could have happened or potentially could have happened towards the end of this process that, Carol can't figure out when they're saying phases, where does it actually start? Towards the end of this process, that could have materially changed the outcome of this election.
But Chebukati clearly says that in his statement. He says, all Kenyans were waiting for this announcement at 3 p.m. Then around the 3 p.m., and Chebukati says, during a briefing
that's where the problem
on August 15, at around 3 p.m., at the same time we were waiting for Chebukati to announce the results, the four commissioners demanded that the chairperson moderates the results for the purpose of forcing an election rerun.
Exactly. So
Chebukati has already said
this is the point we are saying, that all the parties agree that the problem seemed to have been that last phase. Whether it started from 3 o'clock or it started from 2, we don't know. But that is the phase that was problematic. And all the parties agree. In fact, Chebukati is saying the dissenting commissioners within that phase were trying to alter the result by convincing him. And the commissioners on the other side are saying that particular phase was opaque. In other words, both Chebukati and the other commissioners are agreeing that there was a problem with that phase. The only thing that they're disagreeing on is the detail, is what went wrong. One side is blaming the other. And you can imagine the frustration of the political parties if the commissioners themselves, who are the custodian of the process, felt there was a problem with the process. And it's both sides. Chebukati is saying they were trying to convince me to change the figures to force a runoff. The other guys are saying this was opaque, we're not seeing the results, so we're not privy to what the chairman actually said. You can imagine what Azimio and Kenya Kwanza were going through there, within that particular situation, because the helplessness that this result can go either way depending on these shrouded conversations that actually happened. Chebukati said those conversations happened.